Welcome back to The Art of Adventure. This is episode 152 with David Wood and Sarah Gajek about getting real with people. The Art of Adventure is the podcast that helps you travel the world, run your business, and embark on an epic quest. I'm your host, lead explorer, and guide, Derek Loudermilk, and you can head over to derekloudermilk.com to check out the show notes and sign up for the Art of Adventure newsletter, where you'll get reading recommendations, resources, and lots more. This episode has my friends David Wood and Sarah Gajek. They're joining me to talk about their project Get Real, which is all about how to form deeper and more meaningful connection. At this point, it's an app, and I've been using the app and the questions in it on and off in either interpersonal settings or in group settings for the last year, so I'm familiar with it. We've all got it on our phones and downloaded for this episode, so we actually ask each other some of the deep questions from the app in the interview, so you can see what some of the questions are and how it works. But we'll also talk about the psychology of connection and paying attention to people, and we'll also talk about some of the specifics of how they structured their business partnership, how they found each other, how they are promoting the app, getting publicity for it, how they collect feedback, and lots more on the business specific sides. So this is very informative and also very fun and intimate episode. So here are David and Sarah. Welcome back to the Art of Adventure podcast. I'm here with two good friends of mine, David Wood and Sarah Gajek. They are joining me from Australia, but we know each other from Bali. And you guys are in Australia to play Frisbee? Was that part of it?
To play Frisbee, to promote the app, and visit family and friends. And I've never been to Australia, so this is a new adventure for me too.
Oh, perfect.
And a paraglide. Sarah's just registering for to get certified in paragliding up north.
Awesome. So let me tell the listener a little bit. David Wood, you may remember him from episode 48 and 49, who taught us all about how to be a coach and create our first business. And Sarah, so I know David and Sarah played Frisbee with them in Bali, and they're in Australia. And what else can I tell you? Sarah's Canadian. David is Australian via America. And we are going to be talking, the app that Sarah referenced is called Get Real. And it's an app that you have been working on, David, for a couple of years now, and it seems to be ramping up.
Yeah, New Year's Eve, it'll be 2 years.
2 years. And at this point, as it stands, you guys are business partners, both working on this app. So here's what I thought. Apps, you create them and then you sort of update them if there's bugs, but you really don't touch them that much. But it sounds like you guys keep working on it.
Well, we're trying for sure. We've added some new ways to play the game of asking questions, and so that's what we keep updating, and how to interact with how we connect. And there's different ways to go about that. If it's a group setting or it's one-on-one, or you're just asking yourself questions in self-reflective mode. So there's different ways to play with going deeper.
Yeah. So the name of the app, Get Real, used to be called Go Deeper or Go Deeper. But the premise is you ask deep questions of yourself or each other, your friends, for dating, whatever. Let me just ask how it came about and why this app is useful in your estimation.
Yeah, I was at a games night. It was an authentic relating event, it was called, and I was bored and tired, and I just wanted to go home, and I was looking for a back door so I could slink out. And then they had us partner with a stranger, and we had to ask a question, what don't you want me to know about you? And I couldn't believe what happened. I've got goosebumps now just thinking about it, the guy just shared something you wouldn't normally tell someone about what he was hiding and how he was feeling and how anxious he was about being there at the group. I had no idea. And my heart opened and I had tears in my eyes and I felt like this was a brother of mine. All the tiredness was gone and I just felt energized and alive. And I was blown away because I'm a life coach and I've been asking deep questions of my clients for years, but I don't do it with my friends or my family or my partner. So I thought, how can I generate this in my life? How can I have this experience of my heart opening and feeling connected day to day? And because I'm such a nerd, I thought if I had an app, then I could bust it out and find some questions that'll go deeper and see what happens. So I created the app with my good buddy Gregory Kellett because he wanted to do the same thing for years and tried it out. And initially I wasn't sold on it because I thought this is just a silly app. But then the more I used it with people, the more I found that our relationship was going deeper and people were like, this is amazing. So I fell in love with my own app.
That's great. That's excellent. Do you think there's something people really want that this app fills the need for deep relating between people that we're missing?
I do, definitely. I think that a lot of what people are missing is an opportunity to just be heard. So I think sometimes we ask questions where it's something that we want to respond to. And in this way, it's just like, actually, I'm just going to ask you a question about you. And having someone just listen. And you get to go in and reflect and just like, hey, this is something I'm going to share about myself. And the response to our questions are just, thank you. And it offers that space to just be heard and just like, wow, that's just about me. And there's something in that where you get to have like, you're connecting with yourself, but connecting with another person with that space to listen. And I don't think we rush through life so quickly that we're not listening and we're not pausing. It's like, wow, let's take a step and just, thanks for letting me get to know you.
Yeah. It was fascinating. Just before the call, we were talking about how another mutual friend of ours had used it around the table with his wife's parents, and that one thing that he noticed was the attention that, the person answering the question gets the attention and you move from person to person. And I was struck because I just recently watched the TED Talk again about introverts and the power of introverts, but how a lot of people in a discussion setting are not going to pipe up with an opinion, and the loudest and most opinionated people will dominate the conversation.
Yeah. I think that we're craving attention. We really want focused attention, and whenever we get it, we love it. So if you meet someone who just has to ask you questions and truly listen, you think this is a great guy or this is a great woman. You may not realize that they just gave you attention. So we were just at a function with some relatives, and we brought out the app, and someone would ask a question, and the person sitting thinking. And someone else would jump in and give their answer. And I said, wait a second, let's give them a chance to answer. So they really got to take their time, be heard, and it changes everything.
Yeah, and everyone paused to listen for the answer to come, which was nice. It was just, there's space.
Yeah.
And it just slows everything down. That rushing through life is just like, no, wait a sec. Let me actually answer that for real. And there were some shock things, and these are friends who've been friends for 50 years. So it's great. It's great. I'm like, oh, yeah. Thanks for sharing. We didn't know about that.
That's crazy.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So generally, like if you and I and Sarah are talking, you'll say something, Sarah says something, I say something, you'll say something funny. That'll remind me of a funny story. And it's entertaining, right? We go back and forth.
Yeah.
But if you're able to slow it down and like Derek gets a chance to really like feel into what he's feeling right now and answer a deep question like what's hard for you in your life right now, for example. Well, can I ask you that? Let's do it.
Yeah, it's great. Let's use some of the questions in the app so people get an idea.
Great. Well, let's start with that one.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
cool.
So what's hard for you in your life right now? What's something you might be struggling with?
Well, so I have a 3-week-old son, and there's normal challenges of like sleep schedules and learning how to take care of him and all that, keeping him alive. But the other challenge is, and it's sort of this weird psychological mind game that's going on, and I'm trying to understand it. So maybe even talking about it on the air here will help. Sometimes I feel like I should be spending every waking minute just with him, looking at him or whatever, and then, I'll be sitting there and he'll be on my lap and he'll fall asleep, and so I'll say, "Oh, this is a good time to do a little reading." So I'll pick up my book, and then I'll think, I should just be paying attention to him, but he's asleep, and it's this whole thing, like, take it to the logical extreme, like, is this the road to absentee fatherism? Like, if I read this novel while he's sleeping, and it's a total mindfuck, and I'm sure everything's normal, but it's just like your own thoughts that you never expected to have running through there.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
As I was listening to you saying that, I was thinking the fact that you're having those thoughts probably guarantees that you'll be a good father.
That's what I'm hoping. I hope have enough weird thoughts and you become a good dad.
There you go. You're on track. Yeah. Thanks, man. That sounds tough.
Well, so let's all answer. Let me see if I can. I have the app right here, so I'm going to pull one up, and I'm going to ask Sarah, and then Sarah, you can ask David a question.
Cool.
So let's see. I'm on the Friends portion of the app. Okay. If you died today, Sarah, what would you most regret not saying, and to whom?
Honestly, my mom comes up, and I feel like I give her a hard time about a lot of stuff, and I think that I would regret not saying actually how amazing she is, and that I appreciate how present she tries to be with me, because I'm quite demanding, and how much I appreciate that she really tries, and yeah. So I would probably acknowledge, like, just how much I appreciate the things that she does go above her comfort zone to be a great mom to me. Yeah. And thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I will send her this episode so she can hear it.
Love it. All right. Well,
and what's interesting is, as I ask you the question, it also, as you ask it, you sort of think in the back of your mind, if I have to answer this, what am I going to say too?
Yeah. So sometimes we just flip it back, and I've asked a question of someone, and then they flipped it back to me. I'm like, whoa, hang on.
Whoa,
it's one thing
to ask the asker.
But I think secretly we want to be asked it. So maybe Derek wants to be asked that question. Sarah.
Yeah?
Would you like to flip it back on him?
I don't remember the question.
If you were to die today, what's one thing you would regret not saying?
And to whom?
And to whom?
Well, I think actually I don't have a good answer for this question, because I asked myself something similar a few years ago, and I went around to everyone and actually called them all up, my parents and grandfather and best friends and something. And so the problem is, I don't feel like that's enough. I feel like you can tell someone how much you appreciate them or some specific things that are really meaningful, and then I get the sense that appreciation wears off, at least in my mind, and then I think, oh gosh, they need to be appreciated again. And so it's just a constant loop of appreciation.
Yeah. Is it possible you're a little hard on yourself? I've just noticed when you said about your kid that you're feeling, even reading a book, like maybe I'm not giving him enough attention. And then you gave all these people appreciation and did all those calls that no one would ever do. No one else does that. And now you're like, is that enough? I just wondered, is Derek...
Well, now you have this. That's a great improv life coach question there, David.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I probably hold myself to a higher standard than everyone else. So now the listener has a bit of an idea. You don't necessarily know. You can pick from, what is there, hundreds of questions on there, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, the free version's got like three categories. You could choose just met, friends, and a light category if you're with your family and you're scared to go a little deeper. And then if you upgrade, there are
It opens up to
the 450 questions and 10 categories.
Perfect. Wow. And as a interviewer, I'm always in search of good questions that help, illuminate the situation and help the listener connect with the guest. How did you come up with all the questions in the app?
I wrote maybe a third of them or a half of them. I would, as I'm talking to people about the app, the questions would come to me, and I've been a coach for years, so I put down a lot of those insightful questions that I've been asking clients, and sometimes I would search the web looking for ideas, and I might take some from a website and get the author's permission to use them because I thought they were so good, or they would just spark an idea, and I'd be like, oh, that's a good one. I'll tell you my favorite question in the whole app, I think, is, and it just came to me one day. I might have been watching The Sixth Sense or Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg or something, and I thought, if I was to come back, if I died and came back as a ghost, what could I tell the psychic so you would believe it was me? Right? Like, what's something only you and I know that I could say that would be proof that the psychic was telling the truth, and added that to the app. So it's just spontaneous bursts of inspiration. Sarah, how do you get
like that? Because that kind of gets into what is something unique about our relationship, and it makes that person,
That's
nice.
The real question, right? That's the underlying question. What's something only you and I know? But when you put it in a fun context. Yeah, but Sarah, you're always coming up with questions. Where do you get your questions from?
Honestly, the genuine curiosity, and I listen for what people want to be asked, and then I just go there. Like, they give a little hint of like, oh, I'm going to talk about this, but not on a real way, and I'm like, all right, let's go there. What is it about that? And those are my questions. So
could you give an example of?
But it's more so along the lines of maybe coaching questions to, like, what David did. You know, he's noticing the answer to your questions. He's like, oh, there's something there. You're pretty hard on yourself. And it's like, I would probably ask, what's enough? When do you say, you know what, I'm kind of awesome right now? And
that's a good one. That's better than what I asked. That's good.
Right? It's like, when you acknowledge that yourself and you appreciate that, wow, and step back and reflect on that, just like to put it in perspective, it's not about always outside reflection, it's like inside.
So Sarah raises a really great point. She operates from curiosity. And what a beautiful spot. Like, even if you weren't using the app, if you just sat with someone and waited until you came up with a question that you really want to know the answer to. And by the way, that's important in the app. You don't just pick the first question that comes up. You've got to scroll through until you find one that resonates. And you honestly want to know the answer. You're like, oh, I want to ask Derek this one. That's where the energy's alive and it's not just fake.
Right.
And then you respond to that and you have a real connection.
Yeah, because I know when David and I played it for the first time too, he asked me a question. I asked him a question. I'm like, and he answered, and I wanted to ask him a follow-up question. So I'm like, wow, that's good. And this is what that's brought up. And so it actually generates a deeper conversation, because now it's like, wow, this is something that we wouldn't have just brought up in regular conversation, but I'm curious now, I'm hooked in, and I want to ask more about. So it's really just an intro into a person on something that, is just maybe not in the daily flow of things, but it still engages us and invites us into their world. And I'm like, yeah, I want to go deeper into your world, and like, yeah, let's definitely get real on that.
I want to ask you about the business, and so you said you can you can pay for the full range of questions. Is paying for the upgrade or for the more questions, is that how the full extent of how you've monetized it so far?
Can you speak to the new tier system?
Well, so we're upgrading the tier system. So we have categories of questions, and so we're going to allow people to purchase a category of questions, and there's like maybe 100 questions per category. So it opens it up that way, or you can buy the full suite for a higher price.
Yeah, $1.99 you can upgrade to any category. So if you want to use team building for your staff, you might want to upgrade to that category. If you're in a relationship, upgrade to the couples category. If you're dating, you'll want the flirting category. If you've got kids, you'll want the kids category. So anyone can just do that. Or for like something like $4, $5, you can just get 450 questions in every category.
Gotcha. And I'm personally on search for a business partner, and I'm curious how you guys became business partners for this.
I'd love to hear
how you
your take on how we
structure it
became
and divide up what you work
on. David started asking me advice on the app like months ago, right after we met and stuff. He's like, "This is," and he was working on rebranding it and just asking for feedback and stuff. So I was just giving lots of information, and I felt that I was really inspired by it, and I wanted to just contribute ideas and stuff. And then recognizing as well that I'm a developer, and this is along the same lines of what I wanted to do, which is create more of like an artificial intelligence of asking questions and going deeper. I'm like, wow, this is an even better idea because it's getting people to navigate the deeper questions. And so the more that David and I hung out, we just kind of realized that there's some synchronicity there, and our minds think quite alike with the programming and the logic, and we're just a bunch of nerds, and we enjoy working together and nerding out. So we just continued. And then we had this idea. I was like, well, let's just develop apps together. And David's like, well, I've got an app. Why don't we just continue on that? And so it just kind of grew from there.
Do you guys have complementary skill sets, or are you more similar?
I feel like I'm more so into the guts and foundation and getting everything organized and making sure that when we invite other people in to work on our app, that they can move with it smoothly, so that we can continue on developing further. And I'm all about a strong foundation because my background is as a professional developer. So
I'm shooting the hip.
Yeah. So Sarah, I think our audience might be interested because you've been traveling for 7 years, which among digital nomads puts you in the more experienced category. Can you just tell me a little bit about your travels over the last 7 years and how you've made that work as a developer?
Okay. Yeah. So I quit my job in 2010, January of 2010, and I was a professional developer, and our company was changing ownership, and I had to sign a new employee contract. I'm like, no, I don't like asking people permission for vacation or anything, and I didn't like the conditions anymore, and so I quit, and they ended up hiring me as a contractor instead, and I'm like, okay, but I need to be able to travel wherever I want. I don't come into an office. I don't attend meetings, and I want, I think it was like 40% more pay, or I think it was almost double of what I was making to work half as many hours, and they gave it to me because it was just like pure concentrated programming. And so I quit, and I started going into self-exploration and then just traveling the world, and yeah, that's kind of my background with that. And I just take on contracts right now, short development contracts, and it covers all my costs, and I just get to move around. I sold everything, so I'm free and no contracts anywhere other than like work contract, but I don't pay anything. So my costs are free. Yeah.
That's great. And you have your own sort of many years quest to have deeper, closer conversations with people?
Yeah, well, in my conversations with other people and going deeper, as I get to know about other people, I get to know about myself too. And so I slow down my world so I can start listening to everything that's going around me. And definitely, I mean, one of my favorite things is to go to coffee shops and have conversations with people and hold a space for people to talk about whatever is not safe or acceptable in everyday conversation because it goes really deep or it goes heavy. And I'm like, bring it. I'm a real person. I'm a human being. Like, we've all had our troubles. And I'm just like, let's go there. And if I see it, I mean, we carry it. So.
You're going and meeting people that you don't know in coffee shops? Just walking up to them and having deep conversations?
I don't walk up to them. It just happens. You just turn to the person beside you in a coffee shop and a conversation goes there. It's noticing something different and just engaging.
That sounds like something an extrovert would do.
Maybe. I'm a little mix of in between. People also approach me. And so I'm like, oh, wow, all right, you're approaching me for a reason. So I'm like, okay, we'll engage.
And then she'll talk for hours with them.
I do. I talk for about 4 hours.
Yeah.
In coffee shop.
Oh, my.
I know. It's fantastic. David's like, oh, my God, I never want to have a conversation with you like that.
I don't want to have a conversation with anybody for 4 hours, pretty much.
Wow, fascinating. And David, you were telling me a little bit about how, you guys are in Australia currently, and the chain of thought, like, oh, well, why don't we do an event for Go Deeper? And, oh, well, while we're at it, why don't we talk to some mainstream media? Can you just talk a little bit about your thoughts around marketing and even how you go so far as, like, who do you call when you want to tell someone about the app besides the Art of Adventure?
So the process was, we Sarah and I were brainstorming. We came up with a fun way to play this at events. We thought, what if the app chose who you were going to ask a question of? What if the app was in control of who mingles with who, or whom with whom? So we created this ninja technology. We call it Mingle Ninja. And you log in at the event, and it will auto-pair you with someone and show you their photo and their name, and you mingle, and then you say, I'm done, give me the next person, and it matches you up with the next person. So we were already looking for events in Ubud, Bali, and we thought, we're going to Australia for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Let's see if we can get an event organizer there who loves this idea and wants to ban small talk at the event and use our app to warm up and get everybody connected. So I started reaching out to conference organizers, and then we found one that said, yes, we'll have a speed dating thing, and we're going to use your app. And this was Damien. I think you know Damien Walter, friend of Divya from Ubud. And so we had an event, and then when I was getting advice from people on who to contact, one guy said, hey, while you're at it, why don't you contact the radio stations? They might think this is interesting. So we went and researched and came up with, say, 20 radio shows that might be a fit for Get Real, and 5 TV shows. And we've approached the producers, and we had to learn how to do it. We had to, call up and find out who's producing a particular segment and get through to them or get their voicemail and then work out how to do a live pitch in 60 seconds. And we created a press kit. It took us 3 or 4 hours one day to create a press kit that had pictures of the app and all the different hooks for the app and a little video, and then just started pitching. And we've now done 2 radio interviews, which was super fun. And I did a live pitch to a TV producer yesterday, and she heard the pitch. She said, all right, send me the thing. So we're getting some traction. And it was just a snowball. It's like, well, let's try this. And if we're going to do this, we may as well do this. And if we're doing radio, we may as well do TV. And if we're doing one TV show, why don't we pitch 5 TV shows?
Because the effort it takes to learn how to do it, you're gonna end up, figuring better ways to do it and getting your press kit, right? You only have to do that once.
Right.
And yeah.
And then once you've got the producer's name and their email address, why would you not follow up? You've already done the hard work to pitch them once. Why not pitch them a second time? And it might be that third time that you call, you happen to get them on the phone, and they're like, oh, yeah, I've got your stuff. Oh, yeah, we talked about that. All right, let's look at a calendar. So it doesn't make sense to do things in small doses sometimes. It only makes sense to me to do it big.
Is that a theme for you?
Yeah, I actually have trouble doing things small. I did landmark education, the Landmark Forum once, and we had to create a project in the community. And my project was to raise $10 million for homeless through a celebrity theater sports, Whose Line Is It Anyway kind of event. And I ended up not raising $1. Because I just went so big, and we tried to get Robin Williams and Steve Martin and Jim Carrey, and I had no background in it, right? So I didn't have any credibility. And then for the next project, I said, I can't take on a second project. I've already got this big one. And the problem was I wanted to create an adult playground in Sydney, but I was in New York. So by remote, I wanted to generate the funds for an adult playground, like a jungle gym, where you could swing over water, and if you missed it, you'd fall into a moat. And someone pointed out...
And now those things are everywhere, or in the form of Spartan races and whatnot.
Yeah, no thanks to me. But someone pointed out, what if you did something smaller, something that you could actually complete? So I ended up doing a water volleyball game for my building. And I was like, small things, complete them, then do the next thing. So, yeah, I struggle with, and that's where Sarah can help me too, because I tend to shoot from the hip and to go big, and Sarah's like, well, let's get this right, and let's get the foundation right here, and let's do this, and let's do bite-sized chunks.
And we make it solid, and then it's like, okay, from there we've got a good platform, and we can move on from there, and it's,
Yeah, and so we do our plan, and then meanwhile in my spare time, I'm like, let's create a chat bot for Kik. And while we're doing that, we should have a Messenger bot as well. And let's get approved for optimized integration for Messenger so people can reply to our share. And I'm doing that on the side as well as our target. So I think I drive her nuts.
See, I think I'm more similar to David. And what I really want is a Sarah in my life. So that the foundation actually gets put.
Right.
Yeah. You plug the little holes that are along the way. Mm-hmm.
Is this your primary business project right now, each of you?
Mine, it will be for me at the end of this month. I'm finishing off my last contract, and I've decided to stop, and I'm putting all my efforts into this for sure. This is fun. And we can take it to really amazing places, I think, and just keep playing with it. And I'm like, yeah, if I can play with something that I love and make money with it, that's where I'm going. So.
And you think the monetization side is going to be enough for you?
I think that more ideas are going to come where it's not just about the app. It's what's going to come from the engagement of it. So we're working on some ideas, like what David was mentioning with the Facebook Messenger bot, and there's different ways that we can start playing with it. And we're just at the forefront of the technology that's coming out right now and how to move forward with the social engagement.
So how about this idea? Podcasters, right? I already said podcasters need to learn to ask good questions. Just have a thing for podcasters so that they can be good when they first start.
Yeah.
A lot of people are getting into it.
So you mean like an interview category?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Any interviewer could use these. Right now, they could just click on Just Met or Friends and use those questions, but maybe we could have a specific category. That's good.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Derek here. I want to take a quick second to talk with you about starting a location-independent business. This is something that is awesome. A lot of people are interested in it. You've probably been thinking about it for a while listening to this podcast, and maybe you're ready to pull the trigger but don't know exactly where to start in terms of which business idea should I go with first, or do I even have a profitable business idea? Maybe you're more concerned with the travel thing. You haven't traveled abroad before, or you're wondering how to do long-term travel. There's a lot of things that are up in the air that you're wondering about. How to move existing businesses online, how to do social media and marketing and networking, whether you should have a podcast or blog or video log in accompanying your business. There's a lot to consider. So this is where I might be able to help you, because I've helped lots of aspiring digital nomads through personal coaching and business mentorship already get their businesses up and off the ground so they can travel the world full time if they want. So if you want to find out what I can help you with, I'm offering a free strategy session to listeners of The Art of Adventure. That's a 30-minute session. It's valued at $100. And in this session, dial in your real goals, what's getting in the way, and how to break through it. Awesome. This is a free session. All you need to do to claim your spot for 2017, get your year kicked off right, is email me, derek@derekloudermilk.com, or head over to our website, to the coaching page, and sign up there. But the easiest way, just email me, derek@derekloudermilk.com, and we'll chat a bit more about setting you up. Now back to the episode. So I'm gonna share with you my favorite interview question, and then I'm gonna ask it of you. This is useful in all kinds of situations. What didn't you expect about X? So what didn't you guys expect about the response and use of Get Real?
I don't think I really expected how much people would really love it. So people are just telling us how grateful they are for the app, the rave users. I didn't expect to have rave users.
Do you know how many users you have?
No, we know that there are about 20 to 30 downloads a day right now. And I feel like we're just starting on the marketing. We've been doing so much development. Now we're actually like, let's get it out there. Let's test all the different channels and see what's working to get traction.
How do you collect feedback from people using it?
Yeah, that's been another big project, because I realized without feedback, I don't have motivation, and we don't know how to improve it. So we've put, you want to talk about the loop that's in the... No, we put a loop in the app so that there was no finite beginning, middle, and end of how to play it, but now on Android there is. You can create a game, so I'd put in Derek's name and my name and Sarah's name, and you put in how many rounds you want to do, and you play, say, 2 rounds of the game. And then it says, how related did you feel before the app, and how connected do you feel now that you've used the game, and what's one thing we could improve, like that, and then that'll send us an email. Now, unfortunately, people tend to just skip all of those screens, so we haven't found a way to bribe them or make them really want to do it. I think what we'll do is we'll say, unlock a bonus question if you give us feedback, something like that, some kind of bribe.
Yeah. I think you mentioned gamification as we were talking before the interview. Is this what you meant by that? The finite beginning and end, sort of having it be a round format?
Sort of. Definitely that's one way of playing it in the group mode. Yeah. If you have a clear start and finish, it allocates that time, and it tells you can switch around to, so we put our 3 names in, and then we can pass the phone around and be like, okay, this person asks that person, so it's more controlled, more structured, and so it feels like a closed container. The Mingle Ninja, definitely another way to engage with it. And so the gamification for me, I find, is more like the engagement factor, and like how much is it inviting people in to go deeper, to ask better questions. And definitely the messenger bot, the kick bot, all of that and the ideas that we have for that and how we want to start connecting world discussions.
Can I add on to that?
Please do.
So, as Sarah said, the beginning, middle, end is a part of gamification. You have to have a container. So in a game, you want people to have choices, but also you have to take away choices. There have to be limits. So in the group mode now that we have on the Android phone, it will choose who you're going to ask. So Derek asked Sarah, then Sarah asked David, David asked Derek. Now maybe in future versions, once you get to the second round, maybe you get to choose the person. Maybe in the first round, you don't get to choose the question, but as you play more rounds, you get more power, you get more credits. Now you get, say, 3 redraws, like drawing 3 cards if it was a physical game. And then another thing that Sarah's big on is controlling the depth of the questions. Right now, they're just all deep, but people are they say they'd like to start with some lighter questions and get deeper. And I love that as a game progression. So you play the first round, it's the lighter questions. Now that you've gotten to round 2, we're going to go a little deeper. You can get excited about it. Whoa, deeper. Maybe by the time you get to round 3, we're up to the taboo questions or the really edgy questions. And by the way, I've got an edgy question for you, Derek. I want to ask at some point. Got it lined up for you. So those are some of the gamification things. And then another thing we've thought of is what if people earned points as they go through the game? So as you ask more questions, you get more points. As you answer more questions and you don't pass on the hard ones, you get more points. And then you can use those points to unlock certain features in the game, like shuffle or creating your own favorites playlist, or you unlock more questions. So we're exploring all of that.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. And it sounds like you guys are getting to use your creativity quite a bit. And I can imagine that is a big draw for the process, for the business project.
Yeah, for me especially, because I've given myself time off to do something creative, and that's why I want the creative flow to keep happening, because more ideas on how to generate money will keep coming as we engage that creative process, because we're having fun with it, and like our heart's in it, and our like energy, our playfulness is in it. And if we're putting our playfulness into that, we're inviting that in other people too, and that's inviting other people in, and that's how we're going to find ways to monetize it even more.
Excellent. So this might be a good time to ask a couple more questions. David, if you're going to ask me a question, then I'm going to have Sarah ask you a question first. I don't know. Have you guys already asked all the questions of each other, or is there still more?
No.
There's 450 questions, and we don't sit around playing this with each other generally. So no, there's so many questions. Some of them I've written, but I've never been asked, and they're totally different when they get asked.
Okay, well, Sarah, do you have one that you are curious about to learn about David that you would ask?
Yeah, David, what gift do you feel people most often receive from you?
The one they get most often, I think, is the gift of feeling energized and inspired. Because when I get excited a lot, and I get plugged in, and I do a lot in life, and this is my perception, that people get a buzz from that, and they enjoy being around me when I'm alive and doing things in the world, and hopefully they take some of that and go and do things in their own life.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you're saying that's your perception, let me just tell you that I've seen you get really inspired about improv, about Frisbee, about learning Indonesian and Balinese, about Airbnb hosting, about this app, and I'm sure there are other things. But it is impressive to... your video games, where you're teaching people. And that's just in the, year and a half that we've known each other.
Right.
So, yeah, it constantly makes me feel like an underachiever, but it's also inspiring.
Wow. Well, thank you. I take that as a real acknowledgement. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, good question. I like that. Well, I wrote that. No one's ever asked it. I've never had a chance to ask it or receive it. Okay, now Derek, can I ask
All
you
right.
one? All right, now this is one that, again, I wrote, but I've never asked anyone the question, and I don't think it's been asked of me.
So product testing.
So this one's a bit edgy. It's a bit edgy, and I want to tell you, too, that it's valid to pass. You don't have to answer any of these questions. If one just feels like something you don't want to answer, you say pass, give me another one, okay? When did you betray someone, and what did you learn?
Well, there's one that comes to mind, but I'm not going to share it. So I'm trying to think of the second one that will get me off the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am going to pass on that one, actually.
Cool.
And
pass is a valid answer.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I got another one for you.
Okay.
What would you like to feel deeply acknowledged for?
I've been a dad for 3 weeks now. But the whole process from conception has been 10 months, and I was for a while I wasn't that committed. Maybe for a couple of weeks I was really struggling with unexpectedly about to become a dad, but I arrived at the place where I said I'm going to commit fully to being a dad. And then I sort of, thought a lot about what is going to optimize the world for Axel, is his name, as he's born. And that includes having a really strong relationship with Heidi and learning a lot about myself as a man. And so I would like to be acknowledged for a lot of focus and work and preparation for Axel to be born, including, I went to the wilderness for 4 days and did a vision quest and fasted and journaled about becoming a father. And so I think I gave it its due, the idea of becoming a father. I think I didn't just let it happen, but I, paid a lot of attention to it.
Thank you. Thank you. May I respond to that?
Yeah, please. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, I got to see you on the periphery, but I got to see you find out that you're a father, and I got to see you choose your relationship and choose to be a dad, and you changed countries to do it as well. Went back to the States, left Bali. So I didn't know about the other stuff, about the visioning quest and everything you've done. I really want to acknowledge you for committing and being a model for what commitment looks like, how to make something happen and do it well.
Thanks, David. Yeah, and look at this. We're at a place where now I feel warm and fuzzy inside just because of these questions.
Nice. And I could see you doing a book someday, or at least a series of podcasts or something about that very concept for fatherhood. So it might be called Off the Fence or something like, or In with Both Feet. For all men who are freaking out about fatherhood, I think you've got a lot to offer about how to make the choice if you're going to, and how to fully live that instead of kicking and screaming and being wishy-washy. I could see you offering that to the world.
And I do some of that over at my other podcast, which is called Uncharted Family. And I'm just going to plug that right now.
Sweet.
Let's see. Is there anything that I haven't asked you guys yet that you want to make sure we touch on?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered a lot of the really key, fun stuff. Gamification, the different categories. I will say, it's one thing to talk about the app. It's people really need to experience it. So I would encourage everyone to it's a free download for iOS and Android. So download the app, getreal.life, and use it, and that's when you'll know what it's like. Like, it wasn't until we started asking some of these questions that you start to get a sense of the feelings that are generated. But talking about it doesn't give anyone a sense of it. You've got to try it out with your partner, try it out with your family, see what it's like. And if it's not for you, fine. But you may find that it's a game changer.
And give us feedback.
Yes. Yeah. It says give feedback. Please do that, and also rate it. Most people, they get an app, even if they love it, we don't take the 60 seconds to rate it, and it makes a big difference to us, the developers, because that's how we get ranked in the store. So it's not so much that you tell us it's amazing, although we love that, but by doing that, we actually get to rank higher in the store. It's a constant gain to get traction in the store.
Yep.
I also want to mention, too, that we have an area where you can submit a question, too. So users can put in their amazing questions as well. And we just want to build it up even more.
Yeah. If you're on an Android phone, you can actually submit them right in the app and create your own custom list of questions and submit it to us for approval to go into the general pool. So
cool.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's see. David has already answered these questions because he is a previous guest. But Sarah, I have 2 questions that I ask all of my guests. So I'll ask you those now. First is, if you could change or add anything to the world, what would you wish for the world to have?
My first word that comes up all the time is equality. I want us to all see each other as humans at an equal level. And I think how we rank each other, and that's a lot of the conflict that we have. We're just not seeing each other, and that's kind of something that I would want to change or influence, or however you ask the question. But that's the word that came up right away, and that's what I strongly, passionately about. Yeah.
I love it. Second question is, what's your definition of adventure?
For me, I think it's doing things that I'm scared of. So I have a fear of heights, and I'm going to do this paragliding course, and it freaks me out, and I'm like, okay. But if it's something that pushes my belief system and gets me out of like my box and my container, that to me is an adventure. Something that just opens me up, and so I'll like seek opportunities, or seek or be open to receiving definitely opportunities and invitations that I haven't experienced before. And that to me is adventure. It's like going into the unknown and not knowing how it's going to end or where it's going to lead, and just following that intuitive pull of, all right, I'm engaged, I'm in, let's keep going. I have no idea how this is going to go, but I'm in it. And that to me is that exciting adventure, moving forward and growing and becoming more than what I am now without defining it.
Brilliant. Yeah, I noticed that you mentioned your intuition before when it comes to asking the questions that people want to be asked. So it sounds like you're very good at listening to those things.
Thank you.
Thanks. Where can people find you guys online and find the app?
GetReal.life. That's our website. Go to GetReal.life, and there are links to the iPhone store and the Android store. It's actually easier than searching for it in the store, because we don't come up on both stores for GetReal. So GetReal.life, download it, play with it. And there's one thing I forgot to say, Derek, if I can add it now. We really want to, what we're up to is helping you deepen your every human connection. That's our mission. So, and we want to offer this to corporations as well. So any listeners, if you're working within any kind of a company, either you run it or you're just a worker there, we'll work with you to bring this into the corporation. And it might just be at your social drinks, you guys play it, or it might be at the next company retreat, you warm up using this. But if you want deeper connection within the workplace and deeper rapport, we're really excited to bring this into companies.
Cool. And can they email you from that
Yeah,
website?
you can click on suggest a question or give feedback. The email comes straight to us within the app. or on the website. There's our email address. It's david@getreal.life and sarah@getreal.life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll respond personally.
Perfect.
Yeah, we just got a contact a couple of days ago from a guy saying we're creating a new business unit and we want to use this for HR professionals as a warm-up game. Like, yes, tell us what
Perfect.
you need and we'll make tweaks to the app and make it the perfect app for that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. This is a great project, and it was great to connect and catch up with both of you as well.
All right. Thank you, Derek.
Thanks, mate. This was fun.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Another good one. Some very real human moments in there. Obviously, that's what these questions are designed to do. And these are personal friends of mine. So that was a really fun episode, a little bit different. And maybe you picked up some questions you want to ask. Did you ask yourself any of those questions that we were throwing around to each other? And I would say just go out there and get the app and check it out and see if there's any questions you want to add into your own repertoire. You don't have to remember them. You can just let the app remember them for you. I was at a holiday party last night and had a couple of these questions in mind and just sort of worked them into conversation. So you can test different ways to use it. Try it on a date or however. Or if you're a podcaster, I think that's a great idea if we can get that thing going. Anyway, if you are listening to this episode and you enjoyed what you heard, we would love to have you write some feedback in the form of a review on iTunes or however you listen to your podcasts. This is really great. It gives us feedback about what's going well, what's valuable for you guys, but also it helps keep the podcast up in the podcast rankings, which helps other people find out about the show. So if you would do that, we would love you forever. And that's the end of our episode. So thanks so much for listening. Now it's your turn to go out there and be adventurous.